Hi there, young philosophers. This is Teacher Happy, and today we will learn and apply philosophy. If you are ready and excited, please type on the comment box, I'm ready and excited. Thank you so much, and I feel excited and ready today for our topic. And our topic for today is still human person as oriented towards their impending death. But it is part 2. And we will be discussing more of the meaning of life for us to appreciate what is a person or human person oriented to impending death. But before that, let's have a quick recap or review of our last topic. Are you ready? Please type on the comment box right below, I am ready. Thank you so much. Let's start. So the first question is, who is the philosopher did we focus on last meeting? The options are, first, is he A, Plato? Letter B, is he Aristotle? Letter C, Socrates? Or letter D, Tolstoy? Write down on the comment box the letter of the correct answer. I'll give you 5 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And the correct answer is, you're correct. It is letter D, Tolstoy. Number 2 question. Are you ready? Type on the comment box, I'm ready. Okay, let's proceed. Number 2 question. Which one of the following is the book Tolstoy wrote? Okay, so letter A, War and Peace. Letter B, Noli Me Tangere. Letter C, Ibong Adarna. Or letter D, Invisible Man. I'll give you 5 seconds. Write the answer of the correct answer on the comment box. Is it 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5? Yes, and the correct answer is letter A, War and Peace. Perfect. Number 3 question. Which one of the following is Tolstoy? Letter A, anarchist. Letter B, pacifist. Letter C, Christian. Or letter D, all of the above. I'll give you 5 seconds. Write down the letter of the correct answer on the comment box. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And of course, the correct answer is all of the above. Letter D. Perfect. And number 4 question. When did Tolstoy plagued by foolish, simple, and childish question? Is it letter A, when he was old-aged? Letter B, young-aged? C, middle-aged? Or letter D, infant? Write down the letter of the correct answer on our comment box. I'll give you 5 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Correct. The answer or the correct answer is letter C, middle age. Good job, everyone. It shows that you have really studied our lesson thoroughly and your teacher taught you well on your follow-up discussion. Now, our objective for today are these 5. So the first one is to know what is the meaning of life in the philosophy of Richard Taylor. Number 2, know the agony of Sisyphus. Okay, so who is Sisyphus? We will discuss him later. And number 3, relate Sisyphus to animal and humans. Number 4, know the Filipino life cycle graphically. And number 5, know what to do to break the Filipino life cycle. Okay, let's proceed. Are you ready? Type in on the comment box, I am ready. And excited. Include that one as well. Let's proceed. So this time we will be discussing one of the greatest philosophers of his time, Richard Taylor. So we will discuss more of on meaningless and on account of how to find meaning in your life. So I'll give you a brief summary of our discussion before we proceed. So the meaning of life is to live accordance with your nature, with our nature. For human, that is to use our will to make plans and follow them through. So, Richard Taylor, maybe we can better understand this tricky question, which is what is the meaning of life? If we consider what a meaningless existence would be. And of course, it is rude to examine real people. So, we will be discussing the myth of Sisyphus. Sisyphus made a deal with the gods and then went back on it. They punish him by giving him a meaningless chore to do for eternity. Nothing ever comes of Sisyphus' labors. Yes. And his existence is meaningless and nothing comes of it. So, this is the whole story. Sisyphus is probably more famous for his punishment in the underworld than for what he did in his life. According to the Greek myth, Sisyphus is condemned to roll a rock up to the top of mountain only to have the rock roll back down to the bottom every time he reaches the top. The gods were wise. Camus suggests in perceiving that an eternity of futile labor is a hideous punishment. There are numbers of stories, ones which are not mutually exclusive, that explains how Sisyphus came to earn his punishment in the underworld. According to one story, Zeus carried off Aegina, a mortal woman who was the daughter of Asopus. Sisyphus witnessed this kidnapping in his hometown of Corinth. Sisyphus agreed to inform Asopus as to who kidnapped Aegina. If Asopus would give the citadel at Corinth a fresh water spring. In making this deal and bearing witness against Zeus, Sisyphus earned the wrath of gods while earning earthly wealth and happiness for himself and his people. Another story tells how Sisyphus unchained the spirit of death, so that during death imprisonment, no human being died. Naturally, when the gods freed death, his first victim was Sisyphus. It is also said that Sisyphus told his wife not to offer any of the traditional buried rites when he died. When he arrived in the underworld, he complained to Hades that his wife had never or had not observed these rites and was granted permission to return to earth to chastise her. Once granted the second lease on life, Sisyphus refused to return to the underworld and lived to a ripe old age before returning to the underworld a second time to endure his eternal punishment. Camus identifies Sisyphus as the archetypal absurd hero, both for his behavior on earth and for his punishment in the underworld. He displays scorn for the gods, a hatred of death, and a passion for life. His punishment is to endure an eternity of hopeless struggle. We are told, or we are not told, how Sisyphus endures his punishment in the underworld. That much is left to our imagination. What fascinates Camus is Sisyphus' state of mind in that moment after the rock rolls away from him at the top of the mountain as he heads down the mountain. Briefly free from his labor, he is conscious, aware of the absurdity of his fate. His fate can only be considered tragic because he understands it and has no hope for reprieve. At the same time, the lucidity he achieved, this understanding also placed him above his fate. Camus suggests that Sisyphus might even approach his task with joy. The moments of sorrow or melancholy come when he looks back at the world he's left behind, or when he hopes or wishes for happiness. When Sisyphus accepts his fate, however, the sorrow and melancholy of it vanish. Camus suggests that acknowledging crashing truths like the eternity and futility of his fate is enough to render them less crushing. He refers to Oedipus, who, having suffered so much, is able to conclude that all is well. Happiness and the absurd are closely like, suggests Camus. They're both connected to the discovery that our world and our fate is our own. When there is no hope, and that our life is purely in what we make of it, as he descends the mountain, Sisyphus is totally aware of his fate. Camus conclude, one must imagine Sisyphus happy. So this is the new myth of Sisyphus. The god changed Sisyphus' desire, so all he wants is to roll rocks. So now he gets exactly what he wants for all eternity. Sounds great, right? But this doesn't make his existence any more meaningful. Nothing comes of it. So Taylor on meaningfulness, meaningless is endless pointlessness. Meaningfulness is activity with a point, a result, a significant culmination. So which of these best represent all life as we know it? This includes plants and animals. So do you know what a glowworm is? Glowworm, when they grow, they become firefly. Okay? 4 stages are involved in the life cycle of the glowworm. Is the egg, changes to larva, then to pupa, and finally to the adult flies, which lays more eggs. Okay? So that is the life cycle of a glowworm. And also the sisada. Okay, sisada life cycle has 3 stages: eggs, nymphs, and adults. Female cisadas can lay up to 400 eggs divided among dozens of sites, generally in twigs and branches. After 6 to 10 weeks, young cicada nymphs hatch from their eggs and dig themselves into the ground to suck the liquids of plant roots. So, is animal now, since there is direction, there is a cycle to an animal or an insect's life, are their life objectively meaningful? Seems like glowworms and cicadas have a meaningless life cycle. The only point of any living thing's life is just life itself. And the next question is human life objectively meaningful? You must also perpetuate the meaningless cycle of life. We have goals and plans, but are they ultimately for anything other than surviving and reproducing? Even when our achievements create lasting result, how long will they persist? And will it prevent our children from merely surviving and reproducing? Whatever. My life is objectively meaningful. If you say that one, sorry, my young philosopher, that's just absurd. You need to consider the dramatic difference between these two. Your internal perception of the significance of your life and the objective external perception of the life significance of your life. Our significance from the inside first. Let's discuss this one quickly. So we think that all events in the universe are only significant if they are likely to affect us. Example, the universe revolves around us. We are like this to some extent, but some people don't realize that this is the same for other people. Like you being alone doesn't mean that you are alone itself. You might be, or there might be a couple of people who is alone. So you are not alone, lonely. There are many of you lonely and alone. Okay? There are too many of you. And are significant from the outside, all of us are completely insignificant to 99.99999, etc. of what exists. So how big we are, or how big are we? Not very big compared to the universe. How long do we live compared to the universe? Not very long. So when heat death kills the universe, our plans seem beyond insignificant to anything left to observe. And it is not surprising that men invent ways of denying it. Like religious belief center around a departure from this meaningless cycle, like going to heaven, becoming enlightened, and etc. This would be nice, but which, if any, is right? Are there any good reason to believe in one over another? So what is the meaning of life mean? What does life mean? To us, it means not being dead or lifeless. To a God, it means amusement or experiment. To a plant, it doesn't mean anything. So what is the purpose for life? The objective meaning or significance. So various religious purpose, example, you will go to heaven, continuing the cycle of life, like glowworm. There is no purpose for life. So Taylor says, but if there is a purpose for life, then life is meaningless. The purpose for life, the objective meaning makes it meaningless. If life had an ultimate purpose, then you could achieve it, right? And then for the rest of the time, you would lead a boring, meaningless life. Example, Sisyphus temple. So what do we want? What is the meaning of life to mean? So if Taylor is right, an objective meaning of life leads to either fulfilling it and being bored, or number two, not fulfilling it at all. Both end in meaninglessness. Taylor, he mentioned, since an objective meaning of life would be bad, the best way to understand the meaning of life question is to taking it to ask, how can we make our lives subjectively meaningful? Good question. So Taylor's answer is this. First, simply understand that the meaning of life is to live in the manner in which it is our nature to live. Like the glowworm does what is in its nature. For humans, then the meaning of life is living as will to live. We will to live, making plans and seeing them through. So, are you dissatisfied with this answer? Remember, if there were a purpose for life, then life itself would be boring or meaningless. So the best meaning of life we can hope for comes from within us. This is Taylor's position on the meaning of life. So the meaning of life comes from within us. Living in accordance with our will is how we can achieve meaning in our lives. Our plans are the only significant thing we have. Only the pursuit of them brings subjective meaning to our life. These plans are absurdity, insignificant from the outside, but not from the inside. Correct? Thank goodness. Without the subjective importance of our own plans, our lives might truly be meaningless. So this is the summary of Taylor. The meaning of life is the same for all life. The meaning of life is to live accordance or in accordance with your nature. For humans, that is to use your will, to make plans and follow them through. Life may seem absurd, but we should make plans and take them very seriously. Don't consider their significance from outside. So the meaning each of our lives have for us is very significant for us. Thank goodness. So let me show you the graph of the normal cycle of a Filipino life. Okay? So this one is recorded in the year 2008 to 2018 here in Philippines. So this graph shows the cycle of early pregnancy in Philippines. So as far as you can see right now, it is increasing. Again, this is ages 10 to 14. This is the cycle. It is the norm. It is a trend. And the record of unemployment under this administration went up to 4.7 million. Okay, that's the trend. As you can see from 1979, 2000, 2002, 2019. Okay? And the reason for an education, or the reason why the reason there is a lot of illiterate is, number one, cause is the marriage or the family always matter. So for both sexes, either the male or the female. But most of the time, the female is the one who is affected by stopping going to class or stopping going to school because of family matters. And lack of personal interest, it is for the boys, of course. And like financial concern, that is for the boys as well. But as you can see here, the main reason why there is illiteracy, or a student stop studying, is because of family issues. This is the truth. This is what the graph says, and this is what the survey says. So it is safe to say that the majority of you, young philosophers who's watching, will end up being part of that chart if you don't break the cycle of repetitive uneducation, early pregnancy, and unemployment. A study performed or study research by Margot Galang in 2015 on implication of broken marriages to Filipino children, the common reason why Filipino couples separate include, number one, financial problem. Number two, lack of communication. Three, infidelity and domestic violence. And it is safe to say as well that broken family's root cause is financial problem. And financial problem comes from illiteracy. That is the cycle. So does it sound familiar? It is repetitive. We all know what will happen next. So type on the comment box, I will not repeat history. So let me show you a video interview with a parent from Cavite. Okay? So, ma'am, Nay, ano po pangalan niyo, Nay?
Elizabeth po.
Elizabeth. So, nasa Cavite ko ngayon. So, ang topic ko kasi kahapon, Nay, is human person as oriented to impending death. So, kapag mamamatay ka na daw, gusto mo, gawin mo na yung mga gusto mo, ganyan. Ito, nahirapan ko. So, ito na kayo, Nay. So, yan. Kung sakali, ano po yung mga gusto nyong gawin na ginusto nyong gawin siguro nung mga bata-bata pa kayo, kunwari grade 11, mga 16, 17 years old kayo, sa tingin nyo ano po yung gusto nyong gawin ng mga panahon na yun kung maibabalik natin yung pagkakataon?
Gusto ko mag-aral ulit ng college. Kasi nung nag-aaral po sana ako, namatay naman yung tatay ko. Kaya hindi lang ako nakapag-aral ng college. Pag-graduate ko ng high school, dapat ako mag-college, hindi na ako nakapag-aral. Nakapag-asawa ng maaga.
Ilang taon po nga nakapag-asawa?
Nagkaroon ako ng unang asawa, 20, kaya nung nagkahiwalay na kami, 5 years lang, wala na. Parang sa makabilang bahay.
Kasi na eh. Ayun. So, sa mga estudyante ko pong nakikinig na mga nasa edad na mga ganun, ano po maipapayo niyo po sa kanila?
Edad po ngayon mga 11. Ang ano ko po, sir, sa ganyan, may anak din kasi akong babae.
16 po, 17.
Kambal eh. Kambal yung anak kong babae. Ang ano ko po, sir, sa ganyan, magtapos sila ng pag-aaral. Tapos, kailangan po sundin din nila yung magulang nila. Hindi ko kasi pag edad po natin gusto niya mag-aaral, hindi mo tayo makapag-aral. Kaya po hanggang bata po ngayon, mag-aral sila mabuti. Kasi po yung saka sundin po yung ng magulang. Kasi yung pinapayo ng magulang po sa anak, para po sa anak yun. Sa kanabukasan po nila. Saka yung boyfriend po yan, sir. Naku, hindi po muna maaga pa. Kailangan po, malay niyo po, sir, sabi ko sa anak ko, malay mo, makapag-aral ka ng college. Makilala mo yung lalaki talagang para sa inyo. Makakaahon kayo sa buhay. Hindi, kasi ang maipapamana ko lang sa inyo, yung pag-aaral nyo. Yung sabi ko sa kanila. Kasi ako, sir, nahiyak tuloy ako. Ako hindi nakapag-aral ng high school, ng college. Namatay na ang tatay ko ng maaga. Ay, nakapag-asawa ko ng maaga. Yung naging buhay ko ngayon, ito. Parang nagkasawa ko ng una, tapos pangalawa. Tapos ngayon, trabaho ko dito lang. 350 lang isang araw ko dito. Kaya nga ano ko, sir. Nayak lang po ako. Na ano ko po, sir, yung akin po nagawa, hindi ko nagawa noon. Gusto ko marala sa anak ko ng magandang pag-aaral nila. Balang araw. Yung pong ano ko.
Bata pa naman kayo, marami pa kayo
Marami pa ako, sir, kaya lang siyempre ang buhay ko
ngayon. Hindi pa po tayo dumarating dun sa may hukay
ang buhay
lahat
ko
pa may
ngayon
pag-asa.
na habang ano po yung bago akong kunin ni Lord kung sakali, gusto ko po yung maganda ng buhay ng anak ko. Yun lang po ang ano ko. Naiyak din po.
Sige po. Salamat po na marami sa payo niyo po sa mga estudyante po.
Ngayon na po ano ko sa mga bata.
Okay, so after watching that short clip of my interview to Nanay Elizabeth, does she have a lot of regrets? Type on the comment box. Is she part of the chart? Yes or no? Type in the comment box. Does my face look surprised? Do you think so? Of course not. Okay. Do I pity her? Of course, yes. Will you someday end up being like her? Or I hope not. So, these are the questions to ponder. Is anyone in your family famous? Is anyone in your family rich? Is anyone in your family remembered when they pass away for a long time? So, Richard Taylor says that lives are meaningful only if they are creative. And the reason why I ask is because maybe it's time for you to be creative, not to take the path to repeating the history your family made. So let's answer the question to ponder earlier. So is anyone in your family famous? If there is none, maybe you should work on this for you to be famous. Not bad, right? And is anyone in your family rich? Again, we heard this one repeatedly. It is not wrong to be born poor, but I guess it is really your fault to die being poor. And is anyone in your family remembered when they pass away for a long time? Let's answer that one. Many of us really have the innate nature to leave something behind to be remembered. You still remember the scribbles on your desk. It is not an accident. It is your nature to desire to be remembered for a long time. So, what Benjamin Franklin says is this: laziness travels so slowly that poverty soon overtakes him. Sometimes we are just too lazy to think, to be creative, so that our life will not repeat the lives of our ancestors. And if we don't act right now, then when? How about your children and your descendants? Will they repeat the same thing? Like what happened to Sisyphus? He is repeating the same thing over and over again. Insanity is doing the same thing over and over, expecting different result. I believe you are not insane, right? As says in Proverbs 14:23, all hard work brings a profit, but mere talk leads only to poverty. So what do we do? Let me give you some steps to break the chain of repetitive history. So we need to eat. We just need to eat. So that is an acronym. Meaning of it is E for encourage ourselves, A to act on it, and T to triumph. If you follow these 3 steps. So what do you need to eat? First, carbohydrates, loaf. So the meaning of loaf is little acts of faith. Okay? Start doing small little steps to change your daily activities. You can start by getting up early, cleaning your own dish, exercising. Again, number 1, loaf. Eat loaf. Little acts of faith. Number 2, eat an apple. An apple a day makes the doctor away. Is that correct? And the apple means act purposely, paint life with enthusiasm. Be excited every day by planning it ahead to be different from every day, as Richard Taylor says. That's one of our purpose. That's what gives meaning to life, to plan and to see it happen. And we need to eat also bok choy. That's a vegetable. So bok choy means believes on kindness, contribute to human overflowing, yearn for goodwill. Everyone needs your kindness. You don't live your life for your own self, and you will find out that you can give to other people's life a new meaning. Like my student says here.
Kung ano po kasi, kung mamamatay lang din naman po, at least bago ka po mamatay, minagawa ka po muna para kapag namatay ka, may mas, ano po, hindi po yung wala kang value, yung useless ka po, hindi ka po ganun. At least po may tao po magsasabi na ano, naging parte ka po ng buhay nila tapos nabago mo po sila, ganun po.
So next meeting, we will learn about Shilk's meaning in play. And remember this, God loves you and I love you. See you next live stream, Young Philosophers. Bye.